As Ukraine fights for its survival, we're taking you inside Canada's mission to help redefine the battle space. Rare access to live fire learning.
This is a crash course tank school, less than a month to take Ukrainian soldiers off the front lines, bring them here to Poland, and train them on those Leopard tanks.
To do that, Canadian soldiers were called up with barely any notice to come here, tank training grounds in Poland, next door to Ukraine, but a world away from its violence.
So you want to stay kind of further back because the stab system is on, which means that the turret could move around at any time. And
Edmonton base captain Brittany Shkagizis runs the program to convert experienced Ukrainian tank crews into Leopard specialists.
So, how long have you been on those?
I've been doing tank stuff for about 3 years.
What do you think of them?
I love them. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than on my tank doing maneuver, doing shooting, anything. Nothing beats it for me.
The Ukrainians may already be the most battle-hardened tank fighters in the world.
Observation режимі.
And we're going to be shooting in turret ops.
І стріляємо з відключеною баштою.
We're going to be shooting 8 rounds per tank today.
In the comparative safety of neighboring Poland, dozens of Canadian soldiers are training those veteran Ukrainians on fighting with a tank far more sophisticated than the Soviet-era models they've been using so far. Better targeting, better range, better maneuverability, better protection.
During the training, we could...
Polish captain Konrad Stefanowicz knows all about making that switch. His country hosting not just the training, but driving the donations of dozens of Western tanks for Ukraine.
How are they finding the differences between the Ukrainian tanks they've been using and the Western tanks they're about to be able to use?
They really appreciate this tank. They see its advantages, and to be honest, this tank has no... This tank has only advantages over the Soviet-made tanks, and they really looking forward to using them in the future on the battlefield.
Canada has sent more than 100,000 rounds of ammunition, plus 8 of its own Leopard tanks, the oldest in the Canadian Armed Forces. They're now bound for the front lines, so the vehicles used for training are Poland's own.
So the loader will be on this side, gunner and commander on this side, and then the driver is in the hull on the right side down there.
We're not permitted to show the faces of Ukrainian soldiers for their protection, but they are eager to be here, away from the grueling, relentless, bloody fight for inches being fought in towns and across vast fields just like this.
What do you want to see these tanks do in Ukraine?
The goal is destroy the enemy, chuckles this Ukrainian major. His name is being withheld, but he does say he had retired from the army before being pulled back by war to train a new generation on newer tanks.
Do you think the Russians will be scared?
They're already scared, he tells us, but we need more ammunition as well. Indeed, there are no illusions here. The donated Leopard tanks from Canada and European nations, combined with Challenger tanks from Britain and Abrams from the US, will no doubt help Ukraine. But it won't turn the tide on its own. Many of these trainees may not survive for long.
It's a difficult subject, but people die in war, and in this war, a lot of people are dying. How is it for you knowing that some of the people that you're training now may end up being killed on the battlefield?
That's a very hard question, but well, we expect that there will be some casualties. This tank isn't invincible. It's one of the top of the world, but every kind of equipment can be destroyed, and there will be wounded, there will be killed, of course, but that's how it is during the war. We just hope that our training will get those skills, the experience to minimize those casualties and to maximize the effectiveness of the use of this equipment, so they can win the war quicker and with less wounded, less dead soldiers, fewer dead soldiers.
See that barrel carefully shifting? It's tracking a moving target 2 kilometers away. The Leopard's capable of striking more than twice that distance. day or night, hunting while hidden and still or on the move. This just missed the target, but most rounds find it perfectly. The Canadians adding they're learning from the Ukrainians as much as they're teaching. A brutal war of attrition wages just one nation away. Soon, this group of soldiers will be back in it, back to be the first to use leopards in this conflict, and new soldiers will come here to be trained. A cycle likely to continue until this war somehow ends.